Hello, my name is Aaron Kinsvater, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Vermont in the graduate counseling program. I'm making this video today as a follow-up to videos that I've made in the past weeks, which are a response to the encroachment of um, what is effectively a secular religion at the University of Vermont into the University of Vermont policies and um, into the curriculum. I'm particularly concerned that this secular religion, which is termed anti-racism, but is in fact deeply racist, um, appears to be being adopted into my program, which is responsible uh, for preparing practitioners to attend to the mental health needs of adults and children. Um, this is going to have to be a two-part response because there is just so much content in the Provost's response to my first video that I just can't quite get it in. So get all of what I would like to ask the Provost um, into a video that would be a good length for my purposes. So let me start by reading her responses, and then as we go along, I will have some questions that I would like to put forth to the Provost. Dear UVM community, we want to make you aware of a joint statement shared earlier this evening with the students, faculty, and staff of the College of Education and Social Services. This statement will be issued to media outlets. We view this as an opportunity to affirm the core values that support the strength of our university, and we thank you for your ongoing support and commitment to our common ground. What I'm going to ask you to do right now is just pause the video and look up University of Vermont, Our Common Ground. This is a set of, I think it's 5 or 6 principles that are actually really well written and really well thought out. And they are designed to help members of the community disagree on sensitive topics in a productive way. I contend that all of what follows in the joint statement put out by the dean and the provost uh, do not are not consistent with the principles laid out in Our Common Ground. Our joint statement is in response to a recent video posted by a professor in the College of Education and Social Services. They are referring to me there. We share our message in solidarity with our colleagues, students, and broader community as we seek greater diversity, equity, and inclusion on our campus and in our world. I guess I need to pause there and ask a question. What specifically do you mean by diversity, equity, and inclusion? What is diversity and what is diversity not? What is equity and what is equity not? What is inclusion and what is inclusion not? And does diversity not involve diversity of thought? Does inclusion not involve inclusion of multiple perspectives on sensitive issues? If you could speak to that in a subsequent response, I would really be appreciative of having that information, particularly as university professors are going to be evaluated based on the extent to which they are including diversity, equity, and inclusion into their classes. I think we ought to be able to define that before we evaluate people on it. First and foremost, recent views expressed by this individual do not reflect the values of the University of Vermont or our community. In what way does my video not is my video not consistent with your values? And what values are you referring to? In this video, I make the case that teach-ins like Turning Towards Whiteness are utilizing the habits of mind that inform racism. I go on to say that, in effect, racism is highly contagious, and that in the university setting, we really need to think our way out of the tribalism that that so easily informs racism. We certainly should not be reinforcing the habits of mind that act as sort of a substructure to racism. And I'm not sure how my video could anyway be inconsistent with any value pertaining to uh, racism. Racism is highly contagious, and all it needs is a foothold and an air of legitimacy. And I think in providing teach-ins like Turning Towards Whiteness, the University of Vermont has provided racism with a foothold and has lent the name of the institution in order to provide that racism an air of legitimacy. This kind of thinking, which is being touted as a kind of intellectual refinement at the University of Vermont, will spread its way through society and will hurt the persons who are least able to defend themselves against it. I really do not understand how that could in any way be a problem for any reasonable person. Um, The leadership at the university is united in our unwavering commitment to the foundational values of racial and social justice. Well, that sounds very nice, but precisely, what do you mean by racial and social justice? And what are these foundational values that you are referring to? And in what way is a video imploring the university not to reduce people to racial categories in conflict with those foundational values? I'm baffled by that. Additionally, the core faculty in the program and several students have taken a stand against the positions espoused in this video and in other postings. Well, in my postings and in my video, I have consistently asked the university not to reduce persons to racial categories and uh, not to generate the idea that there are negative traits associated with persons of a particular race. Um, that is entirely consistent with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, specifically with Title VII. And I'm not sure, I don't understand why you would want to encourage faculty members and students in our program to work against somebody who is trying to um, point out that the university is becoming a racially hostile environment. Uh, I am baffled by your decision to do that. I mean, I just can't believe you would uh, that you would support uh, efforts on the part of persons in the university community uh, to start a petition asking for my resignation because I made a video talking about dangerous habits of mind in university teach-ins. Um, Gosh, well, maybe that will be a good place to leave off, and then I will address the rest of the provost message to the university community in a subsequent video. In the meantime, if the provost would be willing to um, clarify, the provost and the dean would be willing to clarify their views and answer some of my questions publicly, I would be very appreciative of that. Thank you. Be well.